Can you really write off debt? It's not easy to get creditors to agree to write off debt you owe them, but it is possible. Here are some ways that you can write off your debt and other considerations to keep in mind. The first thing that you should know is that most creditors are commercially minded and will want to look at all of their options to collect the debt. To convince them, you need to show them that writing off the debt is in their best interest as well as yours. So let's dive in and learn more about it. A write-off on debt has many clear benefits, such as being released from the burden of debt, recovery actions stopping, stress and anxiety reducing, and making a fresh start. Creditors may recognise that they have little chance of recovering their debts in some situations. So for example, if you rent your home, have no surplus income after paying for basic needs, no savings, and no available assets to sell, or if you have a serious or terminal illness, long-term ill health, or a disability that means you have little chance of getting or keeping a job. If you own your home, a creditor could try and make you bankrupt or secure the debt to the property with a charging order. Applying for a write-off in such circumstances might put your property at risk of being sold eventually to pay for the debt. So, it's better to get advice before applying for a write-off. If your debts are owed jointly with another person, the creditor might agree to write off your liability for the debt, but still pursue the other person for the whole amount. To avoid this, try to get a write-off agreement that includes everyone in the agreement. A creditor will need proof that you're unable to pay their debt back. It will help your case if you actually stop payment when you make your request for a write-off, rather than going without basic essentials so that you can offer the creditor a token payment. Back up your request for a write-off with a copy of your budget summary showing your income and expenditure. If you have mental or physical health issues, you might want your creditor to know about it. You could ask a health and social care professional or your doctor to write a letter to your creditors explaining your circumstances and how writing off their debt would help you. If you have a social worker, ask them to write a letter to your creditors explaining your circumstances and how writing off the debt would help you. If the person who owed the debt has died, you may want the creditor to write the debt off because the deceased person left no money or property. For a creditor to consider this, you'll normally have to give them a copy of the death certificate. If the person who died left property, money, or other assets, their creditors will usually get the debts repaid from the proceeds of the deceased person's estate. Your creditor should treat you fairly, and they have guidance on fair treatment. In their standards of lending practice, they outline how they should treat their customers, including those who are struggling to repay their debts. If the creditor refuses to write off the debt, ask them to explain why and try to provide additional information to persuade them to change their mind. You can use a second request letter, which I'll link to below this video to make your case. If the creditor is still unwilling to write off the debt in full, consider seeking a partial write-off. This means agreeing to a reduced payment over a limited period with the rest of the balance written off. You'll need to convince the creditor that it's in their best interest as well as yours by offering at least the monthly payment they would have received if you went to court. Now, let's talk about the effects of a write-off on your credit report. A write-off will stay on your credit report for up to 6 years and will likely make it difficult for you to get credit in the future. If the creditor agrees to write off the debt, the balance should be set to 0 on credit reference agency reports, and the debt will be registered as a default. It's important to note that if the creditor refuses to write off the debt or doesn't respond to your request, the debt is not written off. The creditor could start to pursue the recovery of the debt at any time, and the money owed remains collectible. If you have a guarantor, they may be asked to repay the debt for you if you make a write-off request. So it's a good idea to contact your guarantor before you make a write-off request and let them know. Getting a debt write-off in the UK is not an easy process and it's not automatic. You'll need to follow certain steps and meet specific criteria to increase your chances of success. If you're considering a debt write-off, make sure that you fully understand the process and the potential consequences before proceeding. Writing off debt is just one way to help you resolve your debt problems. If you found yourself struggling with debt, you may want to look into other debt solutions. So some of them can lower your monthly repayments and others can even write some of your debts off. It all depends on your unique financial situation and what you qualify for. Under this video, I've linked to a form on my new website and it's got a few multiple choice questions like how much debt do you owe and how many people do you owe? And then at the end of the form, it'll connect you to a company that I've partnered with to give you all the information that you need about debt solutions that are available in the UK. So click on that link just under the video, go and check it out and let me know how you get on.